In episode number 310 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover Kevin Smith on DC Daily, which is the latest segment on DC Universe.
They have also announced an exclusive Funko Pop for comic shops. This is Lord Drakkon.
We also highlight DC's November 2018 solicitations because we are a DC fanboy and fangirl.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Podcast Awards nominated 2018 under Games and Hobbies, the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Darth Vader Daniel.
I am the hostess with the mostest, Emperor Kelli.
For any new brokettes to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, the way we format the show is first we go over some news. We head into our brokehead block where we talk about what happened this week. We give our Patreon shout outs, a thank you to the people who make the podcast possible. And this week we're going to have a sort of submitted question segment at the very end that is comic centric.
But with that, we can jump right into our news.
Although it is not as light a news week as last week, we did have some kind of offbeat type of news that we added on here to today's show notes, and I think that's something that the Emperor can add on to because of your affinity for Disney and the parks. So this is something that I've wanted here in Florida, here in Orlando, Kissimmee, whatever it's actually considered.
Lake Buena Vista.
But at Hong Kong Disneyland, they're going to be running a Nightmare Before Christmas walkthrough attraction from September 13th through October 31st, so right in time for Halloween, something that they've done in California with the Haunted Mansion, and now they're doing it for Hong Kong.
So first off, I am not a Disney person. Don't be throwing this at me like I'm some Disney person.
You kind of are.
This is actually, so I was talking to people about this, ironically enough. Of
course.
I'm done then. Move on to another topic. So this is kind of in honor of the 25th anniversary, like we talked about last week. 25th? 20th? 25th.
25th, yeah.
25th anniversary. So yes, they're taking a whole section of the park and making it Halloween Town 100%, which is much different than what they do in Disneyland, where they just kind of reskin the Haunted Mansion, which I still have always wanted to see. It's on my bucket list. Some year we will see Haunted Mansion all Halloween Townified. But no, Hong Kong is making an actual whole section of the park that is Halloween Town badass. But I didn't know that apparently Hong Kong Disneyland also does a Halloween Horror Nights of sorts, where it's fucking terrifying.
So to anyone not in Florida or anywhere in the Florida area, Georgia, whatever other states, because you guys know, but Halloween Horror Nights is what Universal does. Mm-hmm. They're in their Halloween portion. So theirs is definitely a horror-based type of actually trying to scare you thing, whereas Disney's is trying to make it all ages because that's their bread and butter and trying to make something fun for the whole family.
I have never been to a Halloween Horror Nights. I will never go to a Halloween Horror Nights because I am scared enough at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
What part scares you?
I don't do Halloween. It doesn't really scare me. I just don't like scary things. Scary things, like even when I read scary stories, I start to cry. That's how scared I am.
Really?
Yes. Like when I'm really scared, I tear up. I don't know why.
That's really weird.
Yes.
I've never had that.
I don't like scary things. I don't like jump scares. I don't like thinking of scary things.
No, this is not for you then.
This is not.
But what they're going to do with Disney's Hong Kong Nightmare Before Christmas is a whole pavilion at the park will be transformed and themed, featuring character appearances from Oogie Boogie, Sally, and Jack Skellington. So what it sounds like to me is exactly what they said, a walk-through attraction. So they'll kind of section off a part of the park that normally guests can just walk through. Mm-hmm. And in this case, you can kind of go from section to section and see, I'm guessing, some black light that they're going to throw in there and kind of see some recreations from the movies.
I'm sure you will. This is really cool that you're going to get to meet Oogie Boogie. Here in Florida, Walt Disney World, Jack and Sally are kind of a common thing now, but you don't ever get to meet and greet with Oogie Boogie. So that's pretty amazing. Good for them. Let's book our flight to Hong Kong.
No other plans were announced as far as bringing this to California, or more importantly, here in Disney World in Florida. It's
not gonna happen.
If it does, great.
No.
If it doesn't, this could be a little test. I mean, it doesn't, it can't cost them that much. Just to section off a little section of the park and bring in and theme it up. It's a little nothingness.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's my argument, my pushback on that. So when people say I'm going on vacation, they say Walt Disney World or Disneyland, right? Those are the two places. Does anybody ever say I want to go to Hong Kong Disneyland?
Brazilians, that's actually cheaper now to go to Hong Kong Disneyland.
Most of them say they want to go to Walt Disney World. That's why Walt Disney World doesn't change any of its attractions like Disneyland does, because it's such a place that people want to go. And let's say that you've saved your entire life and you go to ride the Haunted Mansion, but it's not really the Haunted Mansion. They can't do that.
And you say you're not a Disney person.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not. I just know lots of Disney facts.
Let's go into something that I'm a little bit more excited for, because Daniel Craig is my favorite Bond of all time. And yes, I've seen a ton of...
Your favorite man of all time?
He is a man crush, yes.
Okay.
So director Danny Boyle, who previously did Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours, that was with James Franco.
Was that the one where his arm got stuck under a rock and he almost died?
I believe so, yeah.
Based on a true story where he chopped off his own arm?
That's right. You got to do what you got to do.
Got to do it.
But director Danny Boyle will not be directing Bond 25 over, quote, creative differences.
Quote, paycheck differences.
Possibly. I mean, you there's a lot... See, here's what I was about to say. There's a lot of restrictions when it comes to James Bond, because that's a character, that's a whole franchise that you have to protect. But at the same time, in the whole Daniel Craig trilogy, it's been 3 movies so far. He's been an alcoholic, a womanizer, and way more rough around the edges than regular Bond.
James Bond was always a womanizer.
Yeah, but Daniel Craig was like, I'll sleep with them and then they'll die and I don't give a shit. But in the other movies, it's like, holy fuck, like he actually does care about these women, and most of the time they don't end up dying. Like, yeah, we had the one dipped in oil. In gold.
What?
Was it gold or oil? I believe it was oil. But it was a whole metaphor of like, that's where the villain made most of their money, so they killed Bond's girl by drowning her in oil. Or it might have been gold, one of the two. But in the version for Daniel Craig's, like, even M tells him, oh, just another casualty, right? Like, you didn't care about her. And Bond's like, that's right, I didn't. But you know that he kind of does. This is a Bond that I think appeals to me more, because there's way more to the character than before.
Appeals to you regularly or sexually?
Is Daniel Craig not the best? Is he your favorite Bond?
I've only seen him as Bond. I've never seen any other James Bond movie.
Bond 25 was scheduled to release November next year, with production starting this December. However, with this director difference, I think they'll be fine. They'll replace someone else. I'm sure they have 2 or 3 directors already lined up for this kind of nonsense.
What would you if Daniel Craig is like, I'll direct it too?
Fine. Actually, the internet has been asking, they've been going online and saying, I forgot the director's name, but the same guy that directed Casino Royale, who previously did the GoldenEye movie before that. So that was like, bring him back for another Bond movie. Like, let him finish off the Daniel Craig movies since he kicked it off, and now he can kind of finish them off. And Casino Royale really was the best of these so far, and it is my favorite Bond film. So I'm all for it. But apparently that director, who is really old, like he was in his 70s or something when he did Casino Royale, he's like, no, I never want to do another Bond. I'm done with that. So it's like, he's like, shut up, fans, fuck you. And we're like, but we want you to come back. Just do one more.
I don't want to come back, assholes. Like, he's sitting on his rocking chair on his porch, like, leave me the fuck alone.
Did you know he inserted himself in Casino Royale? He shows up in the movie. You don't think of the film mind so that you're being immature, Papa Kelly?
I did not know that.
Do you remember the scene with the airport where they're running around and the guy kidnaps the airplane?
No. He kidnaps the airplane?
Whatever.
He hijacks the airplane?
Too soon to 9/11 still, so I wanted to say kidnaps.
He opened his car door. It's like, hey, airplane, I have puppies. And the airplane was like, "Oh shit, puppies and candy."
That was a whole airplane in a black van.
Kidnaps airplane.
The villain snaps a guy's neck that is there protecting the airplane from getting kidnapped. And that guy that gets his neck snapped is the director. And he inserted a shot of himself where the dead body just like falls in front of the camera and his fucking face is on the big screen across in front of millions of eyeballs.
He should have. I'm sorry.
I'm not giving you any more facts. So forget it.
Can you give me facts with not like words like
wrong terminology, improper English,
and kidnapping airplanes? When he falls, I wanted him to like pretend to be dead and then like wink at the camera. I'm the fucking director, bitches.
Winks at the ding, like it makes that noise.
See, if I were directing this movie, that's what I would have done.
and it's never addressed again in any of the Bond movies, and people are just like, what the hell was that?
And you never know.
People have these theories of him being a super secret agent that's just there to keep an eye on Bond.
And then he has to put himself in every single movie, even if he's not directing them.
He's the Stan Lee of the Bond films.
Yes.
That's perfect.
He's perfect. I love this guy. Find his name.
And he always gets killed, and he always winks at the camera.
Like, I'm not really fucking dead. I think we just created a new Bond villain.
A Bond something. You take this next one because I've got some things to say about this show.
So CBS's long-running show, Big Bang Theory, will be ending May 2019 on its 12th season.
So as someone who works at a local comic book shop, you know how sick I am, or I was, people don't even mention it anymore, and this is probably why Big Bang Theory is being canceled. But about 5 years ago, for like 3 to 5 years ago, it was a lot of people in their 50s, mainly. I don't know why it was an older crowd, but it always was. People in their 50s coming in, looking around like it's a museum, which is great, right? Mm-hmm. You want them to get that wow factor when they come into the show, or I'm sorry, into the shop. But then they go, "Where's Sheldon?" And of course, I know who they're referring to, but I act ignorant as hell. And I'm like, huh? They're like, "I feel like I'm in the Big Bang Theory." And I'm like, excuse me? Like, I just act like I've never heard of this show. And they're like, "The Big Bang Theory, have you ever seen it?" And I'm like, well, I've seen, like, documentaries on it. Like, it's interesting what science has come up. They're like, no, it's a comedy show. I'm like, oh, really? No, you need to watch it. It's like these guys, and they hang out at the comic shop. So I come in, and Sheldon's in there, and I'm like, oh, okay. But that happened all the time, like at least once a week. And now that the show is ending, I'm like, part of me is like, yeah, I'm glad that's never going to fucking happen again. But it hasn't happened for a few years. So ratings have to be down.
They are. Everybody got married on the show. And after you end up married, like, that's it. Even Sheldon got married on the show.
Who cares? I didn't care. The thing is, and a lot of people were laughing at the show, and they were laughing at these nerds. And the thing is, it's not celebrating this culture. It's laughing at it. So that's the other thing that I was like, fuck this fucking show anyway.
I mean, devil's advocate, it also still brought attention to comic shops.
Negative attention of where's Sheldon?
My grandma loved it. My grandma loves that show.
And did she go to a comic shop and spend money?
She probably would if you asked her to.
Yeah, if I asked her to, not because of the Big Bang Theory.
Listen, Grandma doesn't get out much. She spends her money on trashy romance novels.
We should sell those. Especially here in Florida, every comic shop should carry those.
Hell yeah.
Not a bad idea.
All the old ladies.
So including its final season, Big Bang Theory will have run 279 episodes. Good for them. I'm sure there are some of you out there that enjoy that show.
There's still like...
I'm not one of them.
Young Sheldon going on, right? Is that still going on?
What the fuck? I forgot about that shit. We actually talked about that. I just had like a Ratatouille flashback. We talked about that on the podcast a few years ago, and I'm assuming it went nowhere. I'm assuming it got fucking canceled immediately. No one wants to see young Sheldon. It's not the same fucking actor.
I saw ads for a while. I don't know. I haven't seen much. You know what I did like about the Big Bang Theory, though? Can I just throw this out there?
Sure.
The actresses, I don't know about the actors, but the actresses were actually real, like, fucking scientists with master's degrees.
That's pretty cool.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
So, yeah, the lady that Sheldon ends up with, and I don't know her name. I apologize. Someone out there's like, it's
Oh yeah, that happens all the time,
Sorry,
by the way.
I don't know her name, but she was on the red carpet one day, and someone's like, "So, can you really do like math equations?" And like she got really pissed off, and she's like, "Actually, I'm a PhD in neuroscience or something crazy." Like, yeah, it's pretty cool. So good on them for actually picking people who knew what they were talking about.
Something they will not show on the final season of Big Bang Theory is the amazing Funko Pop that is exclusive to comic book shops. And this was announced at Power Morphicon last weekend. Diamond Distributors, which is the place that all comic shops get their stuff from, will have an exclusive Funko Pop figure of Lord Drakkon, an alternate villain version of Tommy Oliver who remained on Rita's side and wields the power of the Green and White Ranger at the exact same fucking time.
Who came up with Power Morphicon? Because that is the coolest shit ever.
I was going to say fans, probably. Yeah. What else? Yeah, that's exactly what you call it.
Shit ever.
I kind of want to go.
You say Power Morphicon, and I hear like that, go, Power Range. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Let's go.
This is, as we said, exclusive to comic shops worldwide, limited to only 30,000 pieces, set to release in January of 2019. Already taking pre-orders. My shop is. Your local comic shop probably is. Brokehead Core. If you want Lord Drakkon, let them know right now.
Do you think they'll sell 30,000 of those?
I know they will. I understand that this is a villain that is exclusive to the comic book. If anyone doesn't know, the comics, what they did is they took the actual show and did its own thing with it. It's the same writer as Batman Beyond. So he said, well, I'm taking the premise of the show, but then kind of doing my own thing with it, kind of ignoring the rest of the seasons.
Kind of putting it in the future and making it apocalyptic.
Pretty much,
like Batman Beyond. I'm sorry.
Like, what if Tommy did not become a good ranger and instead remained on Rita's side, and he does get the power of the White Ranger. He kills off almost all of them, including the future ones in future seasons. And then he goes into the main Mighty Morphin Power Rangers universe, and that's where you see this big arc that came out of it. And this was before Shattered Grid. A lot of readers that weren't reading Power Rangers got on Shattered Grid because they saw that video of Tommy saying, hey, get this comic book. People were like, there's this new villain that came out. I'm like, no, he's been around. They fucking put his ass away, but now he's returning. So it was a good way to kind of sell them on the book, and they loved it, and they're still reading it. When this Funko Pop comes out, even though they've never seen it, a lot of Power Rangers fans, which we've sold out of all of our Funko Pops chain-wide, except for the Yellow Ranger and the Blue Ranger, I believe.
Aww.
Those are the two that we haven't sold out of. But everything else we've completely sold out of. And whenever they see this new one, they're going to be like, who the hell is that? And I'll be like, let me show you in this comic book trade paperback right here for $14.99, for $19.99. And this is where you can read about this Lord Drakkon. That is the evil ranger right there. That is the true Green Ranger.
You sound like a minion of Rita. Like, oh, just look at these things.
Let me tell you something. How familiar are you with the whole Green Ranger arc?
Like 0%, like 4% familiar.
Gives him the green power coin and tells him to go kill the Power Rangers, and that all happens.
But then he becomes good and he's still moody.
Yeah, sort of. And what he ends up doing is when he's evil, he calls Rita his Empress, right? And he keeps referring to, I'll do whatever you want, Empress, everything.
That's how you know she's not a real emperor, but please continue.
So when I was, seeing these older episodes, I was thinking, you know what? Why in this comic, I ship Tommy and Rita. Like, I want them to be together instead of, or with Jason. Like Tommy and Jason, or Tommy and Rita. One of those two. Like, those are the relationships I saw.
Because Rita's got these, like, street cones for boobs.
And he's evil. That's why he likes those.
I didn't know that was a requirement for being evil. Good to know. All right.
So that's the story I want to see. I want to see the Rita, Tommy, Oliver relationship.
Well, here is that trashy love story that you can sell at your comic shop. Write it. Slap a cover on it. Sell it. Old ladies will buy it. They'll be flocking your store.
Lord Drakkon coming to a comic shop near you.
In your smutty novel.
Something else releasing before the end of the year, actually, and we actually had the artist slash sort of, is he co-writer on this? Definitely the artist on this particular comic. He's been on the show before. Friend of the show, Timothy Lim. After the success and controversy of My Hero Macadamia, Antarctic Press, Juan, and Timothy Lim will be releasing, ready? Are you all sitting down for
ready.
this? Trump Punch Man, delete this. It's going to be a black and white one-shot coming this November. What is it? Once again?
Trump Punch Man. Not One Punch Man. Trump Punch Man.
Perfect.
So
Genius.
The solicitation reads, quote, nothing about Donnarudo passes the eyeball test when it comes to politicians, from his uneven tan to his bald or unusual hairstyle to his unimpressive physique. However, whatever else he lacks, he's got it big when it comes to problems. He just can't seem to find an opponent strong enough to take on, end quote.
I love that the solicitation makes it seem like they're making fun of Trump. But if you read My Hero Macadamia, this is going to be a pro-Trump comic book. And as there should be a variety of different, pro or anti. And
of course.
We loved My Hero Macadamia, even though we are left. And we're probably going to love Trump Punch Man, especially from Timothy Lim, who is an amazing artist and great interview, too.
You know you're going to love it. You're so excited. I can hear it in your voice.
My Hero Macadamia sold out completely. If you wanted a first print, you can find one on eBay, and you're going to pay through the nose for it. So if you are at all, slightly interested at all in Trump Punch Man, pre-order that as soon as it hits. You can pre-order it now. It's going to be in the latest previews catalog that comes out this Wednesday. But otherwise, you can, if your comic shop keeps notes of these things, they can put you down for this one shot too.
Something else we're really excited for on the television side is the DC Universe app, which is coming out with even more things for us to be excited about.
More exclusive content for all of us. Warner Brothers has announced that DC Daily is going to be replacing DC All Access. That's the only reason they didn't call Your Emperor and I. Through daily guest appearances, trivia, information, and more on the world of DC Comics, as hosted by podcast extraordinaire Kevin Smith.
We knew it was going to be him. It had to be Kevin Smith. But I will say, the first time I read this, I thought it said Kevin Conroy. And I was
that would have been way better.
Oh, shit. It should be DC voice actors getting coffee in a car with Kevin Conroy.
Clearly, we have discovered comedians in a car getting coffee.
With Jerry Seinfeld.
Always Jerry Seinfeld. Get Jerry Seinfeld, the fucking hostess. That's the only thing is that I'm like, all right, Kevin Smith, I understand. He draws in a lot of people. And I enjoy a lot of his podcasts too. But he shits on the DCEU so often that I'm like, not. Like, I stopped listening to Fat Man on Batman because of that. Him and Mark Bernardin. It used to be that just Mark Bernardin would shit on the DC universe and Kevin would kind of be that counterpoint. But then they both just started shitting on the DCEU. So I'm like, I don't need to listen to this.
Well, maybe that will change now that Kevin has the show here. He's going to have to stop shitting on it.
Now he's getting paid by DC. I don't think it'll stop him. Like, I'm not going to listen to Fat Man on Batman anymore. But that's the only thing that I was saying, like, why him? Like, have you heard his shows? But if he's going to promote, he does promote the comics pretty well. He has nothing bad to say about the comics because they're killing it on that end. But if they are, and they do have like the Batmobile in there, they have Gal Gadot's costume on the set as well for DC Daily. So that's the one thing that I was like, But if it's going to encompass everything else, then it should be fine. And that's something we're definitely going to be checking out every day.
Every day? It's coming out every day? That's why it's called daily?
Exactly.
Wow.
Now, they're not going to be long. It's probably going to be like a 5-minute segment thing that he records all of in one go. But DC Daily is going to be on DC's streaming service, DC Universe, with select segments available for free through select online channels. So most likely like their Facebook page and DC's YouTube channel.
A live stream will kick off of DC Daily on August 29th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So pretty soon.
I'm hoping that's when they actually get the service out there at the end of August. Let's watch some animated series. Let's watch some of the DC animated movies. Give us some sneak peeks to the live action shows. All in. We're already in for the year, so let's do this.
Sticking with DC, but flipping on over to the comic side, DC November 2018 solicitation highlights came out. These are not the full solicitations. Those will be in next week's previews catalog.
So we have a couple of things I wanted to touch on. Doomsday Clock number 8 had a really interesting solicitation this coming month.
The solicitation reads, quote, "The critical and commercial hit series by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank continues following the shocking revelations of last issue. As the truth behind Dr. Manhattan's actions against the DC Universe are revealed, Ozymandias turns to the only being who can stop him. Superman."
What the fuck happened in the last issue? What happened? What is Dr. Manhattan's plan? Does he want to get rid of the DC Universe?
Is Batman sick? Why is Superman the one who has to stop him?
That shows that Ozymandias is not the smartest man in the DC Universe. He should have gone straight to Batman.
Yeah, of course.
Batman's going to fucking stop him.
Batman has a fucking contingency plan for God.
We're going to talk about that, Batman and his views later on. But what do you think about Ozymandias? What is your theory on what Manhattan? And you've read Watchmen. We've watched the movie several times. What do you think is Manhattan, who has been hiding in the DC Universe? What's his beef? What's going on, man?
Because he has to. You don't get choice in life. It is just what you do because
is he
you must. No, that'll be, I have to, huh? It is what life intends. that would be Tommy Wiseau. Dr. Manhattan's whole thing is there's no choice in life. You just do things.
You're the puppet on strings, and you can see the strings.
So for him, he's going to say, I don't have a choice. I'm supposed to end this because of the corruption or the bullshit or the whatever the hell. They're going to come up with something cool. And he's like, look, I got to end this. I got to rewrite it. This is what I'm supposed to do.
The cover, maybe this will kind of give you some more insight. I don't know if you've seen the cover. Gary Frank just tweeted it out a few days ago, but it's got a puppet version of Superman, a puppet version of Dr. Manhattan, and then they're both on strings in a little set, and it's got like the moon on there. Might be Mars, but the hands controlling both are Ozymandias. So that might have something to maybe Ozymandias. It's another fucking plan by Ozzy to, one, cure his cancer if he's even got it, and two, to get these two super beings to fight or for whatever fucking reason. I don't like the DC Universe we know in this particular state of being is in chaos, right? Just like the Watchmen universe was. So maybe he's trying to apply the same thing. He's like, we don't have goddamn Rorschach here to ruin that shit. So I can carry out the plan that worked in Watchmen in the DC universe. Although it's kind of a cop-out of like redoing the thing, but that cover itself might say more about Ozzy's plans.
Right. We'll have to read. I mean, so far the series has been great. It's felt very true to the original series. They're introduced some great new characters. So, of course, we're going to read it. It's going to be something more than we can even think of. I still think Dr. Manhattan's going to be like, I just have to. Because sometimes he's a giant baby. Has Ozymandias met Batman? Is that why Ozzy's going to Superman?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to go back. I know Batman talked to... Oh, no. Ozymandias met Luthor. And right now, Batman's working with Rorschach. So... Oh, and actually, he got captured by the Joker. So never mind. I don't think... No, I don't think Ozymandias has...
So that's why Ozzy's, like, going to Superman. Because he hasn't met Batman.
He hasn't met Superman either, though.
But yeah, but he's met Lex Luthor, who's probably like, Superman's this piece of shit.
Either way, we'll find out this November. We're finally getting the comic that we've been asking for a long time, and it is Shazam #1 by Jeff Johns. It is going to be 40 pages for $4.99.
That's fantastic.
Kicking off with nearly double the amount of pages that we normally get out of our regular $3.99ers. So I am super excited for Shazam #1, a comic that we have been asking for many years now.
Last time we got Shazam, it was just in the back of a book, correct? That Shazam that we really liked?
It was in Justice League,
It was in the back of Justice League. Over 6 issues? Something
like that.
It wasn't very long, but it was so good because it captured what we've talked about many times, where you have Billy Batson who's suddenly an adult and he's like, I'm going to go buy beer. And just trying to do all these adult things. So I'm so glad we're finally getting a book. This is the best time to do it too, because you have the Shazam movie coming out soon. So get that hype going. Not that people aren't going to see this movie, because they definitely are. But still, get that hype going in comics. Create a great run. People are going to go see the movie and then continue on with the book.
Last highlight we wanted to touch on is an amazing statue that spins right off of Batman White Knight, and that is the next entry in Batman Black and White, as designed by, of course, Sean Murphy.
This is priced at $80 and is limited edition of 5,000. As all these black and whites, always limited edition.
You can bet this is going to be one of our unboxings on our YouTube channel. And it is thankfully not another waiting at the bus stop pose for Batman. It is actually an action shot of Batman jumping up. His cape is actually what keeps the statue up.
Oh, cool.
Which is really neat. And then it's all done in the style of Sean Murphy, who if you've read Batman White Knight, which there's a great chance you have because that sold like crazy, you know this design is fucking phenomenal.
And if you haven't read it, go read it.
The trade paperback is coming out in about a week or two, so you can catch up that way.
If you guys haven't seen these black and white statues and you're a fan of Batman, what's wrong with you? No. Go look them up. You can Google search them. Your local comic shop is sure to have some of them. But we've collected several over the years. Missed out on that Bruce Timm one.
Yeah, still. And I'll never share that Batman Beyond one again on social media.
Why? What happened?
Because every time I fucking do, there's the exact same person on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter that asks me if I'm looking to sell it. And it's the same exact person.
How much does he want to give us for it?
Last time I checked, it was going over $300 for it.
Nah, not enough.
But I'm like, dude, man. Like, no.
First off, that is my statue.
Mm-hmm. The Dustin Wynn one.
Yes, the Dustin Wynn one is my statue, so calm down. You can sell all the rest of your statues, whatever.
So the rest are mine? All right, done.
Wait, no. Which other one's mine? Which other one's mine?
Nope, you said it. Moving on. We've got the Brocat block next.
Which other one's mine?
I want to talk about something else that annoys the shit out of me, is requesting to be on a podcast. Did you see these series of tweets? So.
Oh, you told, yes, I did see
I told you about it, actually. And this is what you don't do when you're requesting to be on a podcast. And there's dues, because we have had guests on that have reached out to the show with a proper email, with credentials, with sample of work. This is what's coming out. This is what I'm working on.
Blood sample. I don't know.
Blood samples, comic book pages, PDFs, everything. The
Their
whole
family
shebang.
History.
It is essentially a press release that is custom made. You know, they just replace dear blah, blah, blah with your name. And great. If someone comes back to you, awesome. You send out X amount of emails and hopefully you get some hits and you're on shows, you're on websites. That's how you do it, right?
A press release or a resume?
It's pretty much more or less a press release.
Okay.
A lot of times it'll have the actual solicitation in the email.
Gotcha.
And that's how we have had some of these guests where many have reached out to us, and that's how you fucking do it. The way you don't do it is go on Twitter, and I don't care about calling this person out because I know they don't listen to the show, because if they did, they'd know about the proper way to go about contacting us. Is you don't send out a tweet that just says, hey, do you guys ever have guests on the podcast? You know, and I was nice. I said, we do every now and again, but it's mainly people in the industry. Contact us at thereasonsimbroke.com. Send us some proof of your previous work. And if we're interested, we'll contact you back. Is that it? Like,
that's
pretty
perfect.
standard,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not even fluffing it up. That's literally what I told him. And this person said, and why else would he say this? You're going to tell me the right answer immediately. He or she says, no thanks. I'll contact someone who's more interested. And I just favorited it and I moved on. Now, why would they not send me an email? Why would they not contact us that way?
Because they have nothing to
Because they're a
send
schmuck.
you.
They're a schmuck.
They
just want to be heard on
nothing
a
to
fucking
send you.
podcast.
Yes.
They have nothing to send us. They have nothing of interest. And I don't mean that like, oh, you're not important. No, it's like, give me, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to say? What's going on? Do you listen to the show? And clearly they don't. Because they can be heard on speakpipe.com/thereasonsimbroke. If you really want to be heard that bad, that's how you fucking do it. The other way not to do it is by tagging your friend and saying, I wonder if at Reasons I'm Broke, we'll have you on their show. That's another way not to fucking do this. Why don't you listen to the show first, figure out what kind of guests we've had in the past, and the proper way to contact us.
Do you think it was their friend, or do you think it was them with another account tagging themselves?
That's a good fucking question. Oh my God, I never even thought about that. That's genius. I was like, I just thought he was trying to get his friend on, and that's why he kept saying that shit, he or she. But now I'm like, you know what? Maybe it was probably the same fucking person.
Probably was.
Just want to be on a fucking show. And something I tweeted out too is it's like, look, we have a show now that has the luxury of not just having any other person, anyone ever.
Right.
Like, we can pick and choose, and that's thanks to our listeners.
You have me every week, so poof.
I mean, how much higher can you get on that bar?
Yeah,
like, everyone else just strives to try to get as high as possible. And they've gotten close. We've had some amazing guests in the past. But with the show itself, because of our amazing listeners, we have that luxury of, okay, we don't need to have a guest every single week.
Right.
And we don't especially need to just have somebody who wants to be on. You know, that's not something that we have to do. Thankfully, I have my amazing wife who does this with me every single week. We have the Brokehead Core who came through when you were out from the pregnancy leave. We have the amazing guests that reach us to make the podcast more interesting during the interview portion of the show. So that just upset me personally. Like, it hit me on a personal level. It's like, come on, man.
It's kind of shitty. It's like going into a job and saying, hey, can you hire me? And they say, well, you can submit your application. You know, we do occasionally hire. And they go, no, I'll go to somebody who actually wants to hire me. Like,
fuck off.
Jesus, really? God.
That's the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Unbelievable.
You know who he is?
A beach ant.
Beach ant.
Goddamn beach ant.
These beach ants.
Can't escape it. Got to say it every week. The fucking beach ants make themselves known every week. It's without a doubt.
They're just crawling out of their holes.
The rest of this show is going to be Brokehead Core centric.
Ooh.
They get a nice block of this.
We didn't talk about what else happened in my week, though.
What did happen in your week?
Lots of things. So right now we are sitting in my indie podcasting studio.
You fucking put this thing together. Like, the audio might sound different to some of the listeners, but you put together like this super indie closet studio
so
that I'm pretty impressed with.
So my days at work got switched this week. So our normal podcasting day, unfortunately, I won't be home for it. So we had to record a day early, which means no childcare, which means Leo's asleep. Well, every time we've tried to record with Leo when Leo's asleep, as Brokeheads know, because he sleeps in our bedroom and our recording closet is right off the bedroom, he wakes up. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. His closet is just as big. We're going to go record in his closet. But there's no clothes in his closet because he's a little naked baby all the time.
It's Florida,
around. Yeah, crawling around his diapers. So I went and I found every blanket in the house.
I think this is every blanket in the house.
Just about, again, it's Florida. There's like 4 blankets in our house. And covered his whole closet to make it as soundproof, sound absorbing as possible so that we could record and he wouldn't wake up. And then I lost the baby monitor, right? This is how fucking smart your emperor is. Are you ready for this? Lost the baby monitor. So what am I doing? What am I doing, Daniel?
You are on the phone with Leonardo.
I muted myself so that he can't hear us talk. But if he cries, I can hear him through my phone while I read the notes.
Hasn't hung up, right?
No, it's still going. We've been on the phone for a large number of minutes. You know what's funny? This is how long I haven't had a long phone call. How long it's been. I'm sitting here. I'm like, I'm going to have to be on the phone with him for an hour. Can my phone handle that? Jesus, Kelly.
Worked out, though. I do like it. And I did tweet out the short video of this indie studio, which isn't our normal type of thing. But like, I feel like that's another thing that I'm like, I think if a podcast awards voter were to see this, they might not vote for us. They're like, this is the fucking podcast awards nominated show? Ugh. Whereas every other, like some of our competitors have like an actual studio that they record out of with a fucking mic handy thing that you see. And it's like, look, go indie, man. This is as independent as it gets. This right awesome.
Here. I mean, our other studio is our fucking closet with clothes hanging in it. So.
Yeah, we're not going to show that shit off. No, this is actually an upgrade.
Right?
You guys, I mean, this is for the podcast awards here. This is podcast awards presentable.
4 blankets. I also, what else happened in my week? Nothing. I worked. I am drinking liquor instead of coffee tonight.
No shit, I didn't even notice that. What are you drinking?
I have Kahlua mixed with Bailey's and some vanilla almond milk.
All right, then.
Yeah, because
that's probably sweet as shit.
It's. Would you like a sip? It's delicious.
I'm good. I've got my also sweet rum and Coke.
Pepsi
rum
and
and
Coke.
Pepsi.
Yes, Pepsi and rum, not Pepsi.
It's
and
rum
Coke.
and Pepsi.
Yes.
Mostly rum.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah. So I was gonna drink coffee like I always do, but it's late at night, so I said liquor it is.
Works out. It's going well so far.
That's probably why I'm laughing so much.
Possibly.
I also have a new coffee favorite drink.
Out of Starbucks?
No, not out of Starbucks. So I realized I was drinking a Starbucks every day, and that was probably why I put on some weight. I'm not going to tell you how much.
It's a milkshake every day.
Pretty much. So I've started going to Wawa and just getting 2 shots of espresso and then mixing it with my Splenda and a little bit of milk.
You tweeted that on your Twitter.
I did.
I'm
at Kelli.
Plug away.
And I have hashtag what's brewing with Kelli. But I really wanted to tweet like a video where I'm zooming in on it over and over and it goes shot, shots. Because those are the only shots that I do in my adult life.
No, you can still do it. It's probably not your last one.
I don't know. I'm not that tech savvy. I know how to do 0 things on social media.
Just do the pinching thing. Everyone does the pinching thing.
Yeah, but then how do I get the music that goes shot,
just sing it. Fuck it.
Nobody wants to hear me sing. They're listening right now. They're like, oh, geez, we're going to give them an award? We'll give her an award if she stops.
Those voters did not get this far.
They saw our studio and they're like, next. I'm very proud of our studio.
I'm proud of it too. You did do a good job. I really like it.
Thanks.
I think it's cool.
Thanks. What were your thoughts when you first opened the door? Like, you were not expecting this. I was just hanging out in this room.
It feels like a little fort. Like a little, like, podcasting fort. I could hear the difference as soon as I walked in. It did feel like I was back in my college days, that little radio station that I used to volunteer at. It was pretty cool.
I mean, we can turn this into the forever studio. I'll get some foam for the walls.
Maybe. It's kind of warm in here. Like, I'm really warm.
We have all our blankets in here.
Yeah, but I don't know if the foam would make that. Like, blankets don't give off heat, Kelli. Like, they're not, they retain it. But I think the foam stuff might do the same. It used to get really warm in the recording studio, too.
You and your logic.
All right. Let's head into our Patreon shout-outs of the week.
So our number of shoutouts is ever growing because our Patreons are ever growing as well. This week we have 7 shoutouts.
First shoutout goes out to Rob on Twitter at TheRealSciTech, YouTube.com/TheRealSciTech, and that's spelled SITEK. He's been watching abandoned Toys R Us YouTube videos. It's got to be a little depressing, right?
Sad. Abandoned things are always sad.
I wonder if that's on the same channel where they visit dead malls, and it's just like the ambiance of the mall music and the sound of no people in the mall. It's really kind of bizarre.
That's fucking creepy. I've seen some have you ever seen abandoned theme park videos?
No, I haven't seen those.
Oh, those are fucking creepy.
Actually, I have actually. It's called Batman the Animated
No!
Series.
Okay, those are amusement parks, not theme parks.
Same
but
shit.
There's one, there was a Wizard of Oz park up in North or South Carolina, something like that.
It's weird.
They opened in the 70s. 1970 they opened. They had 400,000 people visit the first year, which is, I mean, pretty good for a fucking Wizard of Oz park, right? And then something happened where they caught fire and almost burned down, and something else happened, and 4 years later, like, they're closed forever. That's it. They spent all this money. So now it's this freaky-ass abandoned park. Well, somebody got fucking smart and said, you know what? Once a year, we're going to open the gates, and people can come and camp here for 3 days in this abandoned-ass park, and now they're making all this money again.
So they still own that property in that park?
So, yeah, they just can't really open it.
I see. So they can't operate it, but people can go.
But now all the things are like all broken down and real creepy as fuck, and they still have like the yellow brick road in the middle, but it's all grown over
yellow.
with vines.
So it's kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's a little bit.
I don't know what that is.
It's pretty much an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh,
it's the one with the animatronics that kill the kids.
Yeah. I remember. I guess. I don't know. Creepy things are like soon Toys R Us will open its doors for all of us to go and camp out there too.
I don't wanna grow up.
I'm a a Toys R Us kid. Is that going to be the new house at Halloween Horror Nights?
That's right.
Abandoned fucking...
The giraffe, Jeff Giraffe, but his neck's broken and he's just crawling towards it.
Backwards?
Yeah. Next shout out goes out to Jared on Twitter at Spoon Sandwich. He had a nice tweet that I feel like we will also be tweeting soon.
Quote, sometimes I regret teaching my son about forks. Now he wants to use a fork for everything, like pizza and chicken nuggets. Those are finger foods. Hashtag dad problems. End quote.
What's wrong with using a fork for those? I use fork for pizza.
I know you do. I sometimes use a fork for chicken nuggets.
Well, there you go. There's nothing wrong with this, Jared. Your kid is advanced.
Here's the thing that I've discovered so far as a mom is we want to teach our children things, right? Because we want them to be a valuable part of society.
Yeah.
And then after they learn, we go, oh, shit. Like, Leo learned how to get off the couch by himself today. Or this week. He also learned how to go out the doggy door.
Mm-hmm. I had to get him out of that shit because he didn't want to go through it. Like he got halfway through and he's like, oh, there's leaves on the ground. I'm going to play with those.
Just gonna play with
so he's
those.
just hanging off the doggy door. I'm like, God damn it. And it's difficult to get him out of there.
Well, because you can't pull him back inside because his arms are hanging down. So you have to go outside and pull him through. But were you surprised the first time, like, you just, whoop, he was gone?
Kind of, yeah. He looked hilarious.
Like, it was so funny because that's what happened to me the first time. He was just playing with it. Like, he likes to hit the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm, letting him do his thing, looking on my phone, and then it got real quiet. And that's never good. So then I go, oh, yep, my kid's out the doggy door, running away, living a better life.
I'll tell you, Jared, though, if they're not using their fingers for their food, the fork is probably more sanitary, so they'll get less sick. Good thing.
There you go.
All good things. Also, Scott on Twitter. You can find them at Lazy Gaming Guys on Twitter. The ever-famous Lazy Gaming Guys, they stream every single Wednesday night.
Scott recently also got Shenmue Collection for the PS4 and completed Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories for the PS4 as well.
That's a game I could never complete. I preferred the GBA version, but I watched him complete most of that game, which I guess is apparently not that long. So if I had tried a little bit harder, maybe I too could have gotten that platinum trophy like Scott did.
Are you upset you didn't trick me? I saw that word you put in there.
Kingdom of Hearts. You mispronounced it, but that's all right.
No. That's
no
a
one's
fake game.
perfect.
I'm surprised you didn't just move the of.
What do you mean? How would I have tricked you with that?
No, just because you just like to change things, mispronounce them. So it would be, go ahead and you can say it.
Kingdom of Hearts?
Chain Memories.
I see what I guess that could have worked. It's just not as funny though. Because that one time I got you to do it, and
no, I don't even
I'm
know
not
what
going to
you're
give
talking about. I never even heard.
Tune into
this
episode
one,
300.
I don't. No, Our next shout out goes out to Joss on Instagram at Decal Avenue.
Joss did an amazing job with the Infinity Gauntlet decals for our Patreon backers at the $5 and up reward tier. So thank you so much, Joss, for getting those made and for shipping them out.
And the next shout out goes out to Jordan. I cannot say his Twitter handle.
Aswaylock. I put the little dictionary pronunciation next to the thing.
Phonetic.
Yeah. It's right there. Aswaylock.
Yeah, but it hurts my brain because I don't understand how that gets Aswaylock. I am already bad enough at spelling, and here he swoops in, confusing me even more.
Well, Jordan is one of the hosts for the One Up Me podcast, which is a video game podcast that recently got added to Spotify. So congratulations. And he also discovered Libsyn's The Feed, which Libsyn is our podcast host that we use for the show. And they actually run their own podcast where they're like, here's the latest podcatcher that just added whatever on their thing. You can find there. Great tips. And Jordan discovered them. So tons of help. The Libsyn's The Feed is extremely helpful. And again, congrats on getting on Spotify, which is quickly growing to be the number 2 podcast consuming app out there.
Our second to last shout out goes out to at @insmouth_tide.
He recently tweeted out, quote, "There's a lot of talk about toxic fandom. I'm getting comics at my local shop. I'm with my 2.5-year-old. I get my pool, which includes Magic Order with a very risque cover. Shop has more copies, all same cover. Total stranger tells me I can have his copy with a clean cover. At stores, cons, and even online, that's pretty much been my experience. Y'all are lovely people," end quote.
I'm sensing some sarcasm there.
No, he's we got the filthy cover. Yeah. And he's actually happy that because his kid was there, that he was able to get probably cover C, because the cover B is just the black and white one, which is like the... Did you read Magic Order, the latest one?
I did not yet. I haven't gotten there.
Well, the cover has the scene of a wizard, and they're in an empty theater, and they're fighting. So that's a pretty iconic cover, and that's actually the one that my manager said, we need to just get cover Cs for the stands because this cover is kind of risque. And I'm like, nah, it's fine. There's no nipples on this. And so I got, mainly the risque cover, I guess, cover A. And he's like, we didn't get enough cover Cs. I'm like, well, we got both. It'll be fine. And he's like, no, but this one, just keep it out of the side of kids. I'm like, there's no nipples. There's no anything on here. It's fine. Well, it turns out that speculators wanted cover A. That's the more sought after and more valuable cover. So I'm like, shit, I sold to the speculators and to readers of Magic Order. Now we just have cover C left. And I sold through cover A anyway. So I made extra profit and solved the problem.
That's what you do, just solving problems.
And it worked out for @insmouth_tied because the other guy got the, I guess, more valuable cover, and he got the one cover that he could have in front of his kid.
So let me ask you, does a cover have to have nipples to make it risky? I mean, is it not risky until nipples show up?
Yeah, are you in the U.S.? Yes, of course. That's the way we work here in this country.
That makes no sense to me.
I know, it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's really bizarre.
It's so bizarre.
In the future, they're going to look back like, what the fuck? And there'll just be nipples everywhere, maybe. Probably. I don't know.
I mean, it's already becoming commonplace. I mean, it's less...
2218, Kelli. 2218.
I really hope I'm not around for 2218.
I hope. I want to be around.
Oh, you have fun with that.
Our final shout out goes out to Elizabeth on Twitter @EPLifts, who is our latest Patreon backer and is extremely excited for Gen Con 2019.
11 more months to go.
Gen Con, I believe, is a board gaming convention where you go in there and you can actually test out a bunch of upcoming games, unpublished games. My manager, again, same one. And I think it's Gen Con, but he always takes his prototypes and he goes to that convention and he has a bunch of players play and he's just taking notes the whole time to see how he can improve the board games that he's working on. He's constantly working on different ones. And I'm pretty sure Gen Con is the place. And I'm sure there's more to it because there's probably cosplayers, as is with any convention. But if it is the Gen Con convention with the tabletop games, it is the place you want to go if you like board games.
Thank you guys so much for your Patreon contribution. Thank you for supporting us every single week, even those we didn't shout out, even those who aren't Patreon supporters, and you just listen to the show.
And join up the Patreon Brokehead Core. Thank you again to Elizabeth, our latest Patreon backer. I will be here for 40 minutes to give in shout outs. I don't care. Join patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke for as little as $1 a month, which equals out to 25 cents an episode. You too can get your shout out.
And if you say, you know what, guys, I can't commit to $1 a month, but I do have a little bit extra cash, another way you can support us is through a t-shirt.
Head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com, click on merch, and it will take you to the different designs that we have available on our t-shirt shop. Just click on the design that you want, and from there, it'll take you to the store. You can choose whatever color you want, whatever style you want, pick out a shirt, and all of that proceeds goes right back into future designs and into the podcast itself.
You have some great designs on there. You guys may not know this, especially our newer brokettes, but most of these were designed by Daniel himself.
Much appreciated. I appreciate that shout out. Yeah. The one that for sure is something that we got commissioned for the shop itself is the one with the Brokehead Core mascot, which it has the link there of the artist on the shop itself. But that is by Joey Lee Cabral, who did that for our podcast. He actually was listening to the show, and he put out an Instagram story of the Brokehead Core mascot that you see on our logo, and he just has a comic. He's just surrounded by comic books, and of course, the reasons he's broken, he's just crying. And he has long boxes all around him. And I was like, "Can we put this on a T-shirt? Like, can I get a clean version of this?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, let me redo it," and did that for us. We added a splash of color, and boom, on the T-shirt shop as well. But like you said, the rest of them I worked on myself. I do a little bit of Photoshop here and there, so
a little bit.
The comic shop I work for takes up some hours of that. I do it for our business cards for the podcast and saves us a lot of money as well. More money for comics.
Can I design the next shirt? When we get to the 20th Patreon goal, can I design the next shirt?
Is it a Buzz Lightyear?
It sure will be a Buzz Lightyear.
Awesome. And we also want to give a huge thanks to DecalAvenue.com, Joss, for the help at the Decal $5 reward tier.
So that does wrap it up for our general podcast for the week. Typically, we have a comic book highlight, but as we mentioned, this will be filled with questions from our brokettes instead.
With it being a 5 Wednesday month, the spread of comics is a lot thinner this month. So because of that, we didn't have a new number one or a good jumping on point that we can cover. So instead, we reached out to the Brokehead Core on Discord, and they came through for us. And we also have a topic here on Batman. So we got Bobby first on Discord, and let's do it the jingle. Why not? Let's put in that jingle. So Bobby, once again, he asked, quote, what ifs? We'll kind of break it down here. Clark Kent is Batman. Bruce Wayne is Superman. Hal is yellow, and Sinestro is pure green. Cyborg never got hurt or a different person as Cyborg. An adult was chosen as Shazam. Insert person here. Harley is not psychotic. Jack Napier never fully becomes a Joker, but is still nuts. Do we want to see what ifs, just like Marvel has been doing and just solicited, over to the DC side?
I think what ifs would be really cool. I don't think Bruce Wayne would ever not be Batman. But yes, I would love to see some what ifs.
It's pretty much asking the return of the DC Elseworlds comic books that were released, like Batman as a Green Lantern. And I think we're sort of getting that now with DC Black Label.
Right.
We got that with Batman White Knight. What if Batman were the villain and Joker were the hero? And that was answered. We're getting that with Batman Damned next month in just a few weeks. And that's a part of DC's Black Label line as well. So I think if you're looking for a type of what if comic book, we are going to get it with DC Black Label. And that we covered last week too with the new number ones, Jim Lee's variant. So if I feel like both sides are servicing that really well right now.
Before we move on, though, do you think that if Clark Kent were Batman and Bruce Wayne were Superman, that Superman would still love Batman?
Yes, we'd have to change it to hashtag Batman loves Superman. Simple switch. That's all it would be.
It would be interesting, though, because Bruce Wayne as Superman would not be a Boy Scouty Superman like we're used to. That would be really scary because he would have so much more power.
It'd be a diet version of Injustice Superman.
Yes.
He wouldn't be killing. He wouldn't be putting his fist through the Joker. But I think Gotham City would be a safer Metropolis. Exactly right.
I want to write this. Somebody write this for me.
There's an idea, DC. Make that your next DC Black Label book.
Something else we got on Discord came from Scott, who asks, favorite comic storyline of all time and why?
We've gotten similar questions to this, and the answer is always changing because it depends on how we feel that day. You ask me right now, top of my head, what immediately comes to mind, and the comic that I always revisit, it's Superman Red Sun. My favorite comic storyline of all time is a Superman comic, even though my favorite superhero is Batman.
Right.
And I guess I'll dive into that a little bit. I think it's because Superman Red Sun is not just a different take, just speaking of what ifs, a different take on Superman. It is what if Superman landed in communist Russia. His ship was delayed by
12
nothing,
hours. Yeah.
Basically, and landed in communist Russia as opposed to Kansas. So he was raised in that communist type of country. It answers the question of, is it nature or is it nurture? Is it still Superman if he was raised in a different country completely, not the American ideals? And instead you see this superpower come forth because they have the greatest weapon in the world. And you see at the end of the day, is it still Superman? It's a whole philosophy on the world, what happens. And at the end of it, it does kind of paint you a picture of the greatest possible scenario for Mark Miller's type of Superman communist world. Phenomenal story. So much to digest there. And it was originally a Elseworld story, a one-off type of 4 to 5 issue comic book that eventually now you can get it as a trade paperback. they were talking about making it into a DC animated movie. That's what I voted for on the Warner Brothers A-list group that I'm a part of. And it was an option last poll I took. So probably in the next 2 years, you will see Superman Red Son. But that is still a story, a standalone story that will forever be, I think, one of my favorite comic books of all time.
Well, the thing that's great about that story, too, and everything you said is 100% accurate. Like, I love that story as well. But just the idea itself pulls in people who aren't really comic readers. So my dad, he enjoys the comic movies. He doesn't enjoy the comics. I mean, he doesn't read them. He doesn't take the time to read them. But just mentioning, imagine if Superman showed up 12 hours late, 12 hours early, whatever it was, and landed in communist Russia. There's not a person who likes Superman who doesn't go, wow, how cool is that? So yes, it pulls you in right from the beginning, but as we mentioned many times, as you mentioned just now, it is a great story. It feels very complete. It's a very complete story for being, what was it originally, 3 issues?
Like 4 or 5 issues, yeah.
For how short it is, it does feel very complete. So, yes, great pick. Mine, can you guess mine?
Saga Volume 1?
There you go. Saga Volume everything.
Volume all.
Volume all. Saga is probably, and again, I'm a Batman fan, but Saga is my favorite story, comic story, that I've ever read in my whole life. It's
published by Image Comics, so it is a pseudo-indie.
Yes, like my podcasting studio today. There's nothing I can say about Saga that I haven't already told, that I haven't already said. It is an amazing world. It's a beautiful world that I love to read, that I'm excited to read every single time it comes out. And there's always something new, but I never forget what happened previously.
And that's hard to say about comics because a lot of readers, they consume it differently. Some will actually let them stack up. Like Doomsday Clock is very common right now. A lot of my subscribers are like buying all the issues as they come out every other month. But then I'm like, oh, this last issue was really good. And I'll talk a little bit about the comics. And they're like, oh, I haven't read any of them yet. I'm waiting for all 12 to come out. And that's pretty common now, where some issues will read better like that. And that's because you do forget what happened a month or 2 ago, or in Saga's case, when they take that half a year break, or now a year and a half break at least.
Year and a half?
2.5 years at least.
2.5 years?
3.5 years at least.
Stop making up numbers. They said 1 year.
If they ever return, maybe they'll return it. I don't know. They said at least. Get out of my house. Because she said at least, I'm like, well, it could be anything then.
What will come out first, Saga or
Kingdom of Hearts
3?
Saga, because Saga has the most consistent fucking release schedule. We will have remakes to Saga. We will have Saga. Mark Miller will have passed away. Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan will have passed away. Film rights would have been relinquished, and there will have been Saga movies, and there will have been remakes of Saga movies before Kingdom of Hearts 3 ever releases.
Well, yeah, because that's not a real game.
Not yet. Not until that fucking shit releases.
No, it's a fake news game because you say it wrong every time.
I'm just saying. You will read Saga before you play Kingdom of Hearts 3. Yes or no? True or false? Yes or no question? Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
because
good.
The game you just said isn't a real game. I will probably play Kingdom Hearts 3 before I read Saga again. You are
Great
not
question,
you're
Scott.
not Rafiki or whatever.
I was thinking Over the Rainbow, the Hawaiian version.
Why?
Because Aquaman's about to fucking come out. Why not?
Where did your mind?
I also sing that to Leo, and it just calms him down.
Aww.
Do we have like a runner-up? Something like a top 3 or anything?
There's a lot of great stories. I like Mad Love a lot.
Mad Love is really good. Spun straight out of Batman,
I
the
thought
animated
Mad Love
series.
was great. Granted, it was just one book, but again, great story. One of my favorites.
Batman Hush is very accessible. Batman Volume 1 and 2 for the New 52, The Court of Owls, and City of Owls is also excellent. Definitely a must-read, I would say. Probably Scott Snyder's best work, like his Justice League, we've been reading, but it's like, god damn, dude, put some less fucking word bubbles in there.
You like the Green Lantern Corps or whatever?
Oh, of course. Yeah, Jeff Johns' New 52, some of the best. Like, that is that's going to be in my top 5 from now until the end of time, most likely. It is such an amazing, complete run, and it is the story of Sinestro.
When Damian died, just for that one silent issue.
Batman and Robin in the New 52, absolutely excellent. Yep. All of these you should buy. I think that should be satisfactory. Like, there's plenty of material right there to read. Check them all out. They're all good stuff. You're not going to be disappointed. We are going to touch on the subject now because it is on the latest issue of Batman, which I think is Batman 53. Caused a bit of a ripple on Twitter and on the internet. And I was a little bit surprised for a couple of reasons. But in it, the story leads into the court scene of someone asking Bruce Wayne if he is a man of faith, if he goes to church. And of course, he is answering as Batman as well, because we're getting that whole world that is being told to us, the parallels of him as Batman, through his whole explanation of why Mr. Freeze should go away, right? Or was it they're trying to blame Batman?
Why Mr. Freeze is not guilty. So essentially what it is, Mr. Freeze is put on trial for murder. And then Bruce Wayne wiggles his way, bribes his way into the jury because Mr. Freeze essentially goes there and says, yep, I did it. Sorry, put me away for life. Bruce Wayne, Batman, figures out, okay, that's not right. And he wasn't responsible either, right? Right. He figured out that Mr. Freeze had nothing to do with it. But of course the jury is like, yep, he did it, lock him away. And then there's Bruce Wayne sitting on the jury like, no. And we're not leaving because on a jury you have to come to a unanimous vote.
I would stay there forever.
And I know you would. And he's like, so we're not leaving until we figure this shit out.
And as soon as everyone started changing their mind, I'd be like, I changed my mind too.
I just talked myself out of it. Of course you would. This is why you will never be on a jury.
I never get chosen. I've been like summoned 2 or 3 times already. And
you don't want to be chosen. It's
I know
so
I don't.
boring.
I know. And that's what everyone tells me.
You have to listen to grown men be like, he punched me. He killed my friend.
Amazing.
It's a bunch of he said, she said bullshit. And I'm like, you're grown fucking adults. But
tell the truth.
Right?
But in the actual court scene, Batman admits that he doesn't believe in a god and that he's trained, and Batman is his religion. That's what he's actually taken on. And Tom King has since put out on Twitter, and he's like, I didn't intend this for him to come out as an atheist, but that's all up to you guys. So the truth is, Tom King didn't intend this for like, oh, Batman's an atheist. But a lot of readers took it that way. And my whole thing was, one, I thought he was always like an atheist. Like my Batman, I always thought was an atheist, of course. And that's going off of Batman the Animated Series, going off of the many Batman stuff we've read. However, there are also many Batman comics in which he does pray to a god, even as Batman. And in his, in future worlds and future stories where he does die, there's a Christian cross over Bruce Wayne's, cemetery thing, which doesn't mean anything because it's Batman's, but there's evidence for both sides of him being a Christian and him being an atheist, and specifically that religion. I don't know which religion of Christianity, that depends on the author, but then the other side is him being an atheist. And that goes to the reader, which is your Batman. That's the beautiful thing about it, right? You get to choose. And my Batman is an atheist. And that's something that on Twitter, people were saying, well, how is that possible if he's seen the world of Wonder Woman where there are literally gods and there are demons, Etrigan, he's worked with Constantine. And here's the key to all of this. Batman can beat all of those things. They're not divine. Right. The closest thing to divine in the DC universe is Batman himself. Followed maybe by Dr. Manhattan, who's going to be defeated by Batman as well.
Of course.
So to me, it's like, Batman may see demons, may see these gods, but he's like, I can beat these things though. So they're not truly divine. They're just another thing, another aspect, another part of the world that I have to examine and come up with a contingency plan for. And that's one of the things, like, people are like, well, can he beat Galactus and Eater of World? He can probably reason the shit out of him and make Galactus fuck off away from the DC universe. There, he's defeated Galactus too. Not a god, not a world eater. He's another fucking punk. So that's why, to me, Batman is, because he can come up with a plan, defeat these things, he is also an atheist. Like, and that's one of the other things that people ask me as a non-believer, like, what would make you believe? It's like, that's tough. Like, I can't even say, because there's so many things. Like, even if, like, Buddha himself, insert God here, would appear in front of me and say, hey, I'm real. And I'm like, how do I know you're not an alien? How do I know you're not future technology that's trying to influence? Like, there's so many what ifs that you'll never truly know. But if someone is truly I guess, divine or whatever. I guess they would know what would convince you anyway. And so far, Batman, I guess, hasn't hit that.
Well, even in Justice League Unlimited, when they go back to the beginning of time and he sees the fucking hand, like the Big Bang, and he just bat glares it like, how can I defeat you?
And anyone seeing this is like, that's God. But it's like they just went back in time and saw God, this particular, DC Universe God. So he's already like, okay, who created this then? Who is that? Who created you? He's already coming up with ideas.
Right.
And our definitive Batman is Batman the Animated Series, which is that same Batman in the DC Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And he fucking bat glares the creation of existence because there's a big hand and he's like, all right, why does it have 5 fingers? Why is it creating this? Like, there's so many like what ifs already.
His mind's
He's already
working,
learning things. So amazing. And yeah, that's why, like, I don't know why people were shocked. I don't know why this was a thing. The people that were mad, I'm like, you guys weren't fucking reading it anyway. So you saw a headline and you wanted to get upset.
Yes to all of that. But yeah, again, if you're a fan of Batman, the thing you have to understand with comics in general is you have different stories told by different writers, obviously. So you find what is your character. And, this is our Batman. And if you read something else, you just have to understand, okay, that's their Batman, but appreciate it for the story that it is.
Choose your Batman, guys. That's really all it is. There's Batman that has been written as a believer and as a non-believer. So go for it, man. Like, even if this is not like, wait a minute, I think he's a believer. Fine. He has been and will be a believer probably later on. There'll be another story next week of Batman praying probably. Who knows? So it's all up to you. Whatever your preference is, this is not the answer. Completely up to you. But my Batman, the Animated Series one is not. So, all right.
And you're always right.
The greatest Batman of all time.
Yes.
Kevin Conroy. Can't say he's wrong. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. We hope that in spite of not having a comic book highlight, we got into some pretty good comic book talk, and hopefully you guys can pick up some trade paperbacks or some comics based on some of these questions. Saga, of course. So thank you so much, Bobby and Scott and the rest of our Brokehead Core members for tuning in to this week's episode, for giving us the podcast awards. Thank you so much for our Games and Hobbies nomination. And anything else, Pablo Kelly?
No, thank you guys so much. I'm really feeling this liquor, so thanks for putting up with my giggles. But Brokehead Core, all will be well.
See you next week.